We've had some really good introductory content on automation and AI and value creation in the first part of our program, but it's always good to get some practical user experience as well. And for the next session, I've invited Clare Stout from BT to talk about enterprise managed services and the application of AI and automation at BT. They've been doing some tremendous work there, and she's presented for us once before on this topic, and it went down extremely well. So I think from a practical point of view, we can do no better than Clare's presentation. And without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Clare. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, everybody. For today's presentation, I'm actually going to focus mostly on the automation side of things and how we've managed to, I guess, land our automation within EMS. But I'll start off very quickly. Anybody who was on my previous update will have seen these slides, but I just thought in case there was anybody who didn't, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about well, I guess, first of all, my name's Clare Stout. I look after the, I guess, program management and delivery of internal transformation within the enterprise managed services area within BT. So we are somewhere in the region of a 2,000 strong organisation, fluctuates as and when we win business, move work around, etc. So somewhere in the region of 2,000 strong people in the organisation and 2,000 plus customer contracts that we support. So we manage, I guess we offer a full ITIL wrap for all of our contracts. We support anybody from, I guess, sort of some of your major retails, major commercial customers, right the way through to local government, right up to major government, and we look after sort of anything to do with their tech help desks, etc. So we've got a lot of customers, some very complicated, some very bespoke, some fairly standard in the offerings we give them, but largely the capability that we can offer is the full remit of the ITIL framework. So that was just a little bit about us and myself and us. My next slide is really to I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking through this. I talked through it in some detail last year, but I guess my point in including this slide for you for reference was just that in order to get the best, I guess, value out of some of the practical experience I'm going to give you, it's helpful for you to be able to see this. So we've been on a tooling journey, multiple years. We started off, you've got that you right at the top, you've got your service management layer. So we've got a single ITSCM tool set, and we're focusing on inventory cleanse and network monitoring. That if I'm honest, it has taken us, given the amount of customers that we've got, has been multiple years in terms of standing up that tool set and migrating all of the customers that we support, our existing customers that we support, onto that tool set, as well as making it available to in order for new customers as they come along. It's been a multi-year approach. It is and it has been absolutely fundamental. Before we could even think about doing any sort of automation or anything like that, we've had to do the hard work to get those standardized processes in place up front across all of our different functions and sites and locations, and a load of really hard work around inventory cleanse and making sure that our CMDB is up to date and doing the best we can to make sure that we've got the best view as possible in terms of our assets. And I'll talk a little bit as we get through the slides around some of the challenges we've had. And despite investing a load of work in inventory cleanse, it does on occasion still catch us out when we're trying to deliver automation and challenges, because anything to do with automation or AI will not be successful if, I guess, we haven't got those basics in place and as accurate as possible.
Are you showing the correct bit, Clare? I just had a couple of people along the chat saying, "Are you showing the right slide?" I'm seeing your first slide. Is that correct?
Oh, I've got EMS tool and ecosystem. You can't see that. That's what I'm sharing on my screen.
No, just seeing the first one.
Let me try again. I'll stop sharing and I'll start sharing again. See if that makes a difference. Oh, we're having challenges this morning on the sharing, aren't we? Right, I'll do my entire screen and let's see if Mark, I sent those on to you this morning. Is there any chance you could? I've only got one screen working, so it's not my screens. Is there any chance you could try sharing them?
Let me have a look.
My apologies, everybody. Hopefully your imagination isn't so much better than what you're actually going to see when it does come up on the screen. Oh, that's it. Lovely. Thank you.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I was on slide. So slide 2 was the update I was giving everybody in terms of the full ITIL wrap, and slide 3 was the slide that I was just talking through there. So yeah, as you can see, we've done. It's been a multi-dimensional program and across a number of years. But the top bit in the black is, I guess, the key. The key foundations, if I would say, for our I guess our automation journey, moving on to as we go forward. So there's lots of other things that you'll see in this tool deck, that I guess are linked, but not necessarily I'm going to talk about today. So we've got a portal, we've got online catalogs, we have our ability to sell via the portal, that sort of thing. They're all part of what we're delivering. We've got a lot of digital diagnostics and I guess an element of AI, which is what Duncan was talking about earlier. But actually for today, I'm going to focus absolutely on the automation side of it and our experiences in terms of how we've delivered that automation. So if I could just take you back maybe a year or so, and if you look at that black section at the top, actually, sorry, I just want to double check. I'm hoping everybody can see that now. Yeah, just look at the chat and see.
Yeah, so
I can see it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the whole that we implemented our ITSAM tool set. We did a whole host of investment on manual inventory clean, as well as building, I guess, buying some auto discovery capability that helps us keep that up to date. And we invested in a new network monitoring tool. I've deliberately kept them sort of vendor agnostic, but just to give you an idea. So we've spent best part of 2+ years in migrating our existing customers onto this new integrated ecosystem that we've been building. And as we've been doing it, the more and more customers we've got onto the system, the more we're thinking, oh, let's try and use some of this capability that we bought and we know what to do with. So we were looking at automation and thinking to ourselves, right, okay, we've got all this fancy tooling. What do we do with it? How do we decide what to automate, where to go? So we started off with, I guess, a bit of professional services support from the company who we bought the tool and capability from. And they came up with some suggestions, and we've talked about some of the suggestions previously on the call, things like password resets, that sort of thing, pin resets, really sort of standardized stuff that we could start having a look at. So we had those professional services ideas, and then we started going out to some of our existing sites and sitting and thinking of talking to people who using the tool and getting a view from them in terms of what they what they liked, what they didn't like, what was I guess what a typical day in the life was of those individuals, and what would make life easier for them in terms of being able to automate. And we did some initial automation, and it worked quite well. Jobs are good, but it was not, I think, probably it didn't set the world on fire from an employee engagement perspective. It was, I guess, stuff that was very much around, right, okay, how can we, and when I say save money, we are very lucky because we're in a growth environment. In essence, how can we cut down on the non-value add tasks in order to allow, I guess, our people where we need their expertise to work on the additional value added tasks. And actually it worked fine. And we got a lot of this automation delivering. But and it delivered, it allowed us to bring in new growth, and without actually having to recruit people. And it was very functional and helpful. But we were getting, when we would do our annual employee engagement surveys and things like that, our employees would still tell us, you know what, the tooling isn't as good as it could be. And our customers, I guess, were taken for granted the automation that we had, weren't really calling it out. So it was I think we very quickly found ourselves in a position of, well, actually, how do we optimize this? It's great, and we spent a lot of money on it, but how do we optimize it so it provides a better employee experience and I guess a better customer experience? So the slide I'm going to take you through now is I guess what we came up with in terms of how do we maybe industrialize this, but how do we make it land with the people who handle in our service desks and in our second and our third line area? How do we make it land, and how do we, I guess, make sure that it's right for our customers as well? So I'm going to start at the top right hand side. In the first one, identifying the opportunities, seems really straightforward, and I know it does, but I guess the point I'm wanting to make here, and I will reiterate through the course of my slides, is talk to the people who use the tools and talk to the people who talk to the customers, and they are the best people to tell you what is going to make life easier for them and what is going to make life easier for our customers. And in doing that, it allows them to see the value of what we've done and what we've spent the money on and what we've implemented. So we, from the early days of just sitting around a number of people's desks in certain locations, we've realized we can't do that face to face. We've got 5 separate large offices across UK and India. We're not an ability to be able to sit down and talk to people sort of face to face. So we've set up a bit of a community. So we've got sort of champions in the different sites who have got an interest in tooling, and an interest in customers and making things better for customers, and they give us some feeds. We started off, and that was quite ad hoc, and people who are particularly interested, and we formalized that a little bit into I guess, operational led calls. So we now have monthly automation calls where we have people from multiple functions. So you've got problem management and change management on there, as well as the service desk, first, second and third line, and they come on and they'll be saying, this is what we've come up with. We've identified this, we've either got a new customer or we've identified a new process. Can we use the tooling that we've bought in order to automate some of these processes? So we've used that network of people who are really, know the business to help us build out what we call in a backlog of process opportunities that frankly we're still working on, and we've got another good year's worth of processes identified that we're just continually working on in terms of being able to deliver that automation. We are also very fortunate that we have technology delivery teams who help us take that automation and take our standardized tooling and our user cases based on the requirements from the operational team, and they design what is needed in order to deliver the automation. But we've also got really skillful service desk people, technology skilled people in first, second and third line who actually are able to deliver automation themselves using the tooling that we've made available. So we've got probably 3 different approaches to delivering our automation. You've got your, I guess, your standardized waterfall where we use the technology designers, and we're delivering really widespread capability across multiple customers, so we have to do it in a waterfall method just to make sure that we get the governance and everything right and in place. We then set up, we've got the automation tool and sprint, which a lot of what I'm showing you on this slide refers to, which is where agile sprints, we get, I guess, a collection of people from the operational subject matter experts. We've got sort of scrum masters from my team who help put the program wrap around it. We've got product owners and the technology design teams, and we work together in a sprint in order to try to get through a number of the less widespread automation and the things that can be done chunked up in manageable chunks in that way. And we also have highly skillful techies who have taken the tooling that we've delivered and I guess maybe in more of a DevOps sort of format have used that tooling in order to automate things like license expiry on devices, that sort of thing, and provide us with data that we can use to go back out to customers and to deliver against what we need. So we've got multiple ways of delivering the automation using the tooling that we've bought, but the key to all of that is using the people, the feeds from the people who use the tools day in, day out and speak to the customers day in, day out in order to make it land and make it meaningful for them. So we set up our squads. Like I say, we've got links of people from all of the different disciplines within the team, and they work together on sprints in terms of delivering the design and the delivery that's needed in order to take the tooling that we've delivered and automate process by process the different individual areas that we're going after. We've got, as I say, over a year's worth of a pipeline of processes, bearing in mind we've got 2,000 customers. Not everything is industrialized, lots of it is bespoke, so there's lots of different opportunities available within that stack to allow us to automate. And we've got a bit of a matrix that we use in terms of deciding how we prioritize. So typically lots of people automate because they want to save money, and clearly we've got to save money. We're an organization, we've paid a lot of money for the core capability and the tools that we need. We want to get best value from that without a doubt. However, I guess the bigger priority for us, or as equal a priority for us, if I'm honest with you, is, you know, the impact to our customers and what they think about what we're doing in the automation that we'll deliver, and the impact to our people. So we've got a bit of a matrix that we use in terms of identifying. We've got this whole list of backlog of processes. We go through this matrix, and that's how we've prioritized the different areas that we want to go after. And first, we will get to everything. The idea will be to get to everything, but you know, you've got to start somewhere and working out how best to start. We use that matrix which is equally across all of the different areas. We use Jira, an agile planning dashboard, and that's probably sounds really basic to lots of people, but actually it took us a while to make sure we got the whole automation squads and the agile ways of working really bedded in. So the Jira dashboard allows us to do that and to maintain that, and it keeps us on track in terms of our sprints. If you get to slide 5, it takes you in terms of how we manage the design, the test, the launch, and our 4-week sprints. We use Jira, and we stick to those sprints rigidly in order to make sure that we've got constantly, we're turning around new automated processes, which is adding value. And right up the top there, you've got in terms of how do we communicate and replicate. So we have a YSWF, stands for You Said We Fixed. So we have a regular employee engagement forums, and we provide information in terms of, you said we fixed, to them. So everybody who's not necessarily been involved in the squads themselves, but we've provided us with information, or will benefit from the automation that we delivered, we communicate to those guys through that. You said we fix, through newsletters, through huddles. We have a regular lessons learned section, which I'm going to take you through a little bit towards the end of this presentation. And we look at, right, okay, we've delivered this process for customer A. Can it be replicated for customer B, C, and D? And how do we industrialize the automation that we've delivered as all part of this continual loop that we go through, this whole life cycle that we go through, as I say, on a 12-week basis. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. If there is anything you're not sure about, then, you know, I'm happy to take questions offline or later. And I'm just, on the next slide, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an example of some of the automation that we've got going through at the moment. So we started off, we created an incident and event framework, which is, I guess, is giving us a head start as and when we're doing more process automation as we go. We've now automated all of our diagnostics for our commercial customers in particular. So you can see there, if a proactive incident is raised from an event, our tooling, it automatically runs the diagnostic, the common standard diagnostics that are run. It automatically runs through them and does that for us. So 94% of our customers are benefiting from that level of automation, which has been built as a result of these sprints and the feedback that we've had from our individual teams. We've got 13 use cases around automation of service requests. So far, we've done 3 of them, and we're just working through, prioritized based on the previous slide, but we're just working through the rest over the course of the next year. Got very specific feedback around, you know, we've automated manual process for customers of requesting the WebEx license via service requests. So again, standalone, very specific area there. We're in the process of working around some security vulnerability automation. You can see that auto assignment of incidents. We're still working through that as part of this month's sprint. I've deliberately taken the names of the customers out, but we've got specific customers who've fed back where they've needed things like leavers, leaver requests, new starters, that sort of thing, real people, personnel type changes that we need in order to manage, to provide them with service. We've got a lot of that is now automated via this route. Excuse me, and we're working on that dispatch template, as you can see at the end. So I guess similar to the first presentation, this maybe brings it a little bit to life for you in terms of how we've done that and how we're managing it, and a bit of a feel for the sorts of things that we've been automating using this tooling. So I'll move on to the next slide, if I may. And this was really, I guess I wanted to do a little bit around talk about it's not just about the tools. And if I could give you any feedback, some of this is replication from what I've already explained to you, but if you could take anything away messaging wise from, certainly from my slot, is that the tools and the technology is really important. You can't do any of this without it, but actually for it to land and for it to bed in and for it to be optimized, your operational experience is absolutely key. So I wanted to draw out some of the messages that I've already shared to you. So we've talked about the fact that opportunities are fed for operational teams. They come through the automation forum, that we also encourage people via the CI huddles to work on medals. So we've got a big, I guess, an industry within our organization, which is very formalized in terms of helps the operational teams to apply for medals. So pull together, there's a standard methodology that we use and standard guidance that we use and shared with everybody to try to encourage the use of continual improvement across the whole of our organization. So as well as our automation forums that I've talked to you about, we've also got feeds in from these continual improvement bugs which have been raised from the individual huddles and fed back through that way. And those guys, as well as giving us their ideas, which is making their life easier, they get the opportunity to work on medal submissions. So they work with our automation tool teams and they submit sort of medal submissions. I'm trying to think of a better way to describe it. So they've gone through they've raised a bug as part of their huddle. They've worked together with the technology teams or with my team or whoever they needed to in order to deliver the automation that was needed as part of that bug. And they've then, when they've seen it through, they've then pulled it all together within the operation into a medal submission. And it allows them to get, I guess, accreditation from a CI perspective of what they've done. And that's been really, really successful. In the last year alone, we've had 85 medals candidates being submitted across the whole of the operation. And awarded so far, we're still working through a lot of them, but we've had 14 bronze medals, 11 silver and 8 gold. That is so important to the guys who are investing the time in terms of this tooling and this automation and making things better for themselves and the teams and the customers. It's so important for them to be able to follow that through and to feel part of what we're doing. So I guess I wanted to really sort of call that out, as well as the skills within your teams being so important, because I have mentioned that already. We have a lot of technically skilled people within our operation, and some of these guys are taking the tooling that we've delivered and they are building, I guess, data and insight and process improvement, which is really taking our business forward, not just for the people on the desk and not just for the people, I guess, for our customers, but actually wider for the sales area. They're providing, I guess, potentially leads for further improvement for people to go after, for further opportunities for upselling, that sort of thing. There is a whole host of opportunities that's coming out from using our people and engaging our people in the tooling that we brought in order to really land that automation. We have, I guess, and just towards the bottom of the slide there, it was just, we have to continually review how we manage the comms. So I spoke to you about things like you said we fixed. I've spoken to you about, I guess, regular huddles and the automation forums themselves. We still do get feedback that not everybody understands the tooling and not everybody understands what we've delivered and how we deliver it. So this year we've tried something different again. So it is impossible in organisation our side for a small team like mine to be able to get round everybody. So we've set up I guess typically they're called change champions, but we've called them a change deployment community. So wherever we've got people locally in any of our 5 different sites who've got an interest in a particular piece of tooling or technology, or so not process specific because they want their process automated, but actually they're just interested in how it lands all together and they're prepared to act as I guess advocates for everything that we've done in our ecosystem, automation included. We have regular forums for them now. We asked people to apply, which they did. We've got somewhere in the region of 39 now across all of our different sites who, they come onto monthly calls. We tell them a little bit about, updates on how the automation testing is going, updates on how rollout is going or migration of customers is going, depending on what tooling they're using. We give them access to some of the technical designers. We get them involved in helping us do some of the testing, and it just helps. It means that the message is spread wider across all of our functions because we've got people who are locally on site who are advocates for what we're doing. So that's very operationally and people specific, but to me, and I think the key theme from my section is that actually that is as important as having the tooling and the capability that you need in order to do that automation. And if I just finish off on my last slide, which is really just a little bit around the lessons learned. I spoke earlier about our automation life cycle and how we focus on lessons learned. I've just called a number of them out there for you for reference, just as a bit of a recap. So we found that some of our typical different teams had preferred ways of working. So actually just implementing Agile was quite challenging with technology design and delivery team who are more comfortable with waterfall. in some cases, we had to use waterfalls. So, for instance, we have automated our capacity optimization capability to allow us to be able to report and conduct capacity optimization across all of our customers. That was something that had to be done waterfall. It was a major initiative, but a lot of our process changes can be done agile, and we want them to be done agile. And we had to fight, if I'm honest with you, to have them managed that way, to help take some of our internal teams on the same journey. So I guess I just wanted to say, be prepared for that and be prepared to have to do that. Start with small, achievable deliveries, something to create trust, which has previously been talked about, and to get buy-in, etc. So that's what we did. We started small and via the agile routes at least, and we started to work back from that, use that as a foundation, recognize when agile isn't appropriate and when you need those very large pieces of work. That's very much linked back to our first section. And I added in here, be prepared for delays and challenges. Don't it's not always plain sailing. We always say we'll do 12-week sprints. Often they go slightly longer than that because we've had problems with assets, or we've had problems with the inventories wrong, or there's just problems with the way the script is being run, which is needed to be put right. So just don't be disheartened. It isn't plain sailing, but it's worth doing, I guess, would be what I would feedback. Talked to you already about using Jira, and I've already talked to you about focusing on people as much as the technology. I guess the last thing I would call out, particularly on this slide, would be around the customer buy-in. So it'll be different in everybody's circumstances, but for us, we work in partnership with the customers that we support, and often a lot of the automation delivery that we deliver will impact on them. So in some cases we use cabs and change boards before we deliver anything in the way of automation. In other areas it's just general updates. You know, you're not going to be impacted, customer, but this is what we're doing, this is the value for you, and this is how we're going to manage, you know, any risk to your business as we deliver this automation. That's been really successful. It has allowed us to and we don't do it for all customers. We've got 2,000 of them. Some are, I guess, some we work with more than others, but we've had sort of early adopter customers who've been really keen to work with us on a lot of this automation, and they've allowed us to, I guess, take risks, but they've also allowed us to improve the service we offer them, and we've done it in partnership. Even if we're not working in partnership and then the customers aren't really hands-on, we will always deliver comms to customers, letting them know what we're doing and keep them updated. And it's been such a big, it had such a big impact in terms of the customer's view of what we do and their confidence and their trust in what we deliver. So I've just done a whistle stop tour through that whole automation piece. I hope some of it's landed, and I hope it's helped and makes sense, and maybe giving you a practical sense of some of the other updates that the guys have shared. So if anybody's got any questions, please just give me a shout, reach out offline. I'd be really happy to help and share any experiences that you might be interested in.